Hello, and welcome to the Science of Getting Rich, Chapter 2. There is a science to getting rich. There is a science to getting rich, and it is an exact science. Like algebra or arithmetic, there are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches, and once these laws are learned and obeyed by anyone, that person will get rich with mathematical certainty. In other words, Wallace here is talking about the law of attraction. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. And those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do things in this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects, and therefore any man or woman who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich. Basically, he's saying that if you learn to use the law of attraction, you will get rich, is what Wallace is saying there. The above statement is true is shown by the following facts. Getting rich is not a matter of environment, for if it were, all the people in certain neighbourhoods would become wealthy. The people of one city would all be rich, while those other towns would all be poor. Or all the inhabitants of one state would roll in wealth, while those of an adjoining state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see the poor and rich living side by side in the same environment, and often engaged in the same vocations. When two people are in the same locality and in the same business, and one gets rich while the other remains poor, it shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be more favourable than others, but when two people in the same business are in the same neighbourhood and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in this certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent. For many people who have great talent remain poor, while others with very little talent get rich. Studying the people who have gotten rich, we find that they are an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than other people have. It is evident that do they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities others do not have, but because they happen to do things in a certain way. Getting rich is not the result of saving or thrift. Many penurious people are poor, while free spenders often get rich, nor is getting rich due to doing things that which others fail to do. For two people in the same business often do almost exactly the same things, and one gets rich while the other one remains poor or becomes bankrupt. From all these things, we must come to the conclusion that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. Again, Wallace is referring to the law of attraction in this particular piece. If getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way, and if causes always produce like effects, then any man or woman who can do things in the certain way can become rich, and the whole matter is brought within the domain of an exact science. The question arises here to whether this certain way may seem this cannot the question arises here as to whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few may follow it. We have seen this cannot be true. Talented people get rich and blockheads get rich. Intellectually brilliant people get rich and very stupid people get rich. Physically strong people get rich and weak and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential, but insofar as natural ability is concerned, any man or woman who has sense enough to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. What Wallace is saying is that almost anyone can get rich, just provided you understand what you're doing. And the law of certain one, or the law of attraction. Also, we have seen it is not a matter of environment. Yes, location counts for something. One would not go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to do successful business. Now, having said that, these days with the internet and all that, you can take your business from any location, anywhere in the world. I mean, if you have a look at what's happening with the oil and that, and you take a look at the Sahara, you have the United Arab Emirates, cities like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, where you have thriving cities in the middle of the desert. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with people and of being where people are to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better. But that is about as far as environment goes. If anybody else in your town can get rich, so can you. If anybody else in your state can get rich, so can you. Again, it is not a matter of choosing some particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while their next door neighbours in the very same locations remain in poverty. Basically, it's not what you do or anything like that, what he's saying, it's how you do it. And doing it is using the law of attraction. It is true that you will do best in a business which you like and which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents which are well developed, you will do best in a business which calls for the exercise of those talents. Also, you will do best in a business which is suited to your location. An ice cream parlour would do better in a warmer climate than in Greenland. And a salmon fishery will succeed better in the northwest than in Florida, where there are no salmon. But aside from those general limitations, getting rich is not dependent on your engaging in some particular business, but upon your learning to do things in a certain way. If you are now in a business and anybody else in your locality is getting rich in the same business, or you are not getting rich, it is simply because you are not doing things in the same way the other person is doing them. No one is prevented from getting rich by lack of capital. True, as you get capital, the increase becomes more easy and rapid, but one who has capital is already rich and does not need to consider how to become so. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich. You will begin to have capital. The getting of capital is a part of the process of getting rich, and it is a part of the result, which invariably follows of you doing things in a certain way. You may be the poorest person on the continent and be deeply in debt. You may have neither friends, influence, nor resources. But if you begin to do things in a certain way, you must infallibly begin to get rich. For like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you will get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong location, you can get into the right location. And you can do so in the beginning by beginning in your present business and your present location to do things in a certain way, which always causes success. You must begin to live in harmony with the laws governing the universe. Wallace is basically introducing us here to the law of attraction.